Shannon here with Shannon Sizzlen Stampers, and I'm coming to you from my Southern Colorado studio. And today I'm bringing a tutorial for those of you who ordered my Gilded Sunrise Celebration Kit. So within that kit, you received all of these wonderful things. A package of white note cards, a half of a package of our Fine Art Designer Series paper, linen thread, our gold gilded leafing, which is phenomenal, a thing of heat and stick powder, a Versamark ink, a Night of Navy ink, and as your freebie in this, you were able to choose the Heal Your Heart Celebration Reward stamp set. So today I'm bringing to you your tutorial in video format, and it will show you 4 cards using all of these supplies. And a couple of them I'll show you some step-up versions, so if you have something else at home that you want to add to that, you can. My goal with this kit was to make it be something that you felt very artistic about, but yet could be completed fairly easily. So with that, let's move these items. We will be using them all, of course. And let's get started creating some golden fun. All right. So our first item is our Heal Your Heart stamp set, and we'll be using this to feature all of the sentiments that I show on these cards. If you have a different sentiment that you'd prefer to use, you're more than welcome to do that and substitute it on your card. I'm going to try to start with the easiest card and go up, and none of them are hugely difficult, but they may take you just a little bit of time to play with. What I have found with this gilded leafing is it's not difficult, it's a little tedious. And in fact, with that, I want to just show you so you can see. I highly recommend that before you start these projects, you buy yourself some sort of a container with a lid. I've just used the plastic shoebox style. And you probably want some sort of a sponge. I'm using one of our stamping sponges. You could also use a cosmetic beauty sponge, something to sponge off some of that gold leafing. A dauber might also work really well. But when you open this little can, it's very compressed. And I have put mine in this jar. Could I get away with a smaller container? Yes. I wanted the flexibility to dip my cards into the box and try to keep some of the gilded leafing contained. So that's step 1. Don't even attempt this class until you have a container to pour your gilded leafing in. All right, so we're going to start. This first card doesn't even have any gilded leafing on it. So the note cards, I've got my little ruler because you guys know me. You know I can't always remember things anymore. Chemo does that. 3.5 by 5 is the full card base of the note card. So for this one, you're going to cut a piece of your DSP to that dimension, 3.5 by 5. I'm using the pink floral. You can choose to use whatever DSP combinations on these cards that you want and that you like. You also have a white 2.25 inch circle that is in your kit for this particular card. So we'll start, and this card very simply goes together. Step 1, putting on that layer. And you're going to see when we do card 2 that you could easily add gilded leafing to this, but I want to show you what a card looks like without. Then you're going to take another piece of your floral, and you're just going to fussy cut out something along the look of a brushstroke floral. Now, again, this paper is beautiful. It was actually hand painted on canvas, and you can really see those brushstrokes in the paper. And then it was photographed. So I've just cut a couple of those out. And I'm probably going to go back around and kind of give myself a little bit more detail on some of that. And And once you see how the card design lays out, it will make sense to you what you may or may not want to cut. Because this particular pattern is not the one I used on my first card that I created, but I don't like to waste, especially these florals. They're too pretty to waste. So let's just set those aside. All right, so now we're going to take a saying out of the Heal Your Heart stamp set, and I'm going to use Wishing I Could Heal Your Heart. And I designed, when I was designing this class and this kit, I wanted it to be, we're all still suffering a little bit into this new year with the pandemic. And I wanted it to be things that you could send out to your friends and family and neighbors that would tell them you're with them and you empathize with them and you're lonely as well. But together we can send sunshine and golden happiness. So I've used the Night of Navy ink pad that you received in your kit, and I've stamped that Wishing I Could Heal Your Heart right onto there. All right. So now for this card, I'm going to show you the simplified version, and then I'm going to show you a stepped up version. So the next thing is we're going to take our linen thread, and we're actually going to go around the card 2 times. 3 if you would like to do a bow. Bows and me do not get along well, especially on video. So I have to do knots. My fingers just do not work that well. It takes me quite a little bit of time anymore to do a bow. So for me, video and tutorials, it's knots almost all the time. And I have wrapped that fully around that note card. So yes, you're going to see a little bit of wrap of linen thread when you open that note card. So I've got that in there. I'm going to trim my threads to whatever length you want them. And then we're going to just simply, using our fine tip mono glue or whatever adhesive, you can use seal, whatever you like, you're going to put that right on there. It's just going to lay right over that. And then you're going to come back in with your glue, a little spot there and a little spot up there. And you're going to use the florals that you've cut out and just glue them and create a layered effect. Okay. So that is card 1. Now I'm going to show you a stepped up version. If you have more options and tools at home, you can tell I had to re-ink my navy ink pad between the 2 makings of these. All I've done differently here is I've added a piece of our vellum cardstock on top, and I layered that right on top of that base paper because the ribbon goes across the vellum. This vellum is, I believe it's 2, well, let's see. Yes, 2 1/4 by 4. Okay. And then the only other difference is I have put on all of my elements with dimensionals. So if you have dimensionals, I can't hardly live without them. I recommend all of you guys have them, but dimensionalize that and pop it up. It really gives a whole different feeling to the card. And you see what I mean about the type of flowers that you could pick out. So that's card design 1. Super easy and nice, but it looks already so full of artistry because of that fine art paper. All right, so let's go to the card 2. Card 2 is the first one that we're going to use the gilded leafing on. So super exciting about that. I've just taken another piece of that DSP, and this one is cut down by quarters. So if you guys follow any of my classes or customers, you know I tend to go down by 1/4 inches, meaning so this paper is cut at 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, so you're just going to get that down. And we are going to fill in, and you can, I probably should have made mine the way my paper is. I probably should have folded it different or layered it differently, but it is what it is. So you can go vertical or it can go sideways. So You're just going to randomly go in with your glue, and anywhere that you feel could be benefited by a pop of the gilded leafing, you're going to put a little bit of your fine tip mono glue on there, multi-purpose glue. Then this is where you're just going to kind of sit. You can either throw it up on it, however you want, and just go across it. The trick to this is it is really simple. It's just that it's a little bit of a mess. So it really pays off to have a container that you can put it all in. And depending upon how much glue that you dabbed on there will kind of determine how heavy of gold leafing or gilded leafing you get. And then you just go back with that sponge and peel, kind of drag and drop it off. Sometimes you may want to let that glue sit with the gilded leafing on it and let it dry for a little bit. I was a little heavy-handed with mine. So I've got a little bit of what I call smear marks, but you know, they're in gold, so how can they be bad? You know, there are no mistakes in stamping. That's one thing I love, is that everything either looks fabulous because it's homemade, handmade from the heart, or you can fix it. All right, so that's simple. That's the next card, and you would stamp whatever saying you want inside. Look, I've even got some gilded leafing in there. You would stamp your sentiment right inside, because it's designed to be where you're going to feature this paper and the gilded leafing as your focal point. Now, you could add the linen thread. The other thing you could do to card 1 is you could add gilded leafing to that card too, if you want to fancy it up a little bit more and give it a little bit more bling. But that's card 2. This one, you're really highlighting the paper and showing off the gilded leafing. And it's very, very simple. All right, this next card is where we're going to take and use our gilded leafing to the next level. So for this card, you're going to take your Versamark ink pad, and this uses how the gilded leafing, you can cover it in large slots, and you could do this with those, but fine pieces, I find it's easier to use the multi-purpose glue. But I just want to create an artsy background of sorts. So I'm just randomly stamping my Versamark ink on there. And then I'm gonna, you know what I didn't come out today with was I'll just use this. I usually have a little envelope that is specifically for me to pour powders, whether that's embossing or heat and stick, but we'll just use this. So now I'm just gonna pour that heat and stick powder over there. Be generous. Okay, shake that off. Everywhere you have heat and stick powder, you're going to end up with hopefully some gilded leafing, and just dump that extra heat and stick back into your jar. It's the same way I do embossing. And you could do this with gold embossing powder, but the gilded leafing does have a very different textural effect than the embossing powder. So now you're going to heat this big area up. And you'll be able to tell, I don't know if you can see it on camera. Okay, but it starts getting shiny. And that's when we want to stick that right into that gilded leafing container and press it down. Just like that. And that heat and stick powder is what reacts and glues the gilded leafing. Now, if you do this type of card, every card will come out different, because the way you lay your Versamark on is going to be different. The amount of heat that you get on that powder is going to be different. And I'll show you a second one so you can see what I'm talking about. They all come out different. And then I'm just using that sponge again. And if you like some of the rough, loose edges, you don't have to sponge it away as much as I am. If you want a little bit smoother look, you're going to do that. Then we're going to take our sentiment. This time we're going to be using just part of a saying. So this one says, Sorry for your loss. But I didn't necessarily want the full for your loss. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I'm just going to take, if you have a marker, a navy marker, you could do this as well. But the way that the stamp is lined up, it's very easy for me to come in and see, just stamp the sorry. I'm only inking this sorry up. Now I'm going to determine, now you see I kind of left myself this white area intentionally so that it could go right there. So that is the sorry. That's the sentiment for this card. Next, we're going to do a little bit of fussy cutting again. And we're going to be cutting another set of florals. This time I'm using the paper that has these really pretty tricolor pinks. And they've got the navy centers. And that's why I really like them, because that navy really pulls back in that navy ink. That's why a lot of times when I'm designing, if I pick out the paper, I will tend to pick out what is a neutral color in there and use that as my ink base for designing classes. So when you get ready and you're designing your own cards that you want to create, you can do the same thing. And I like to have threes, but I didn't want this flower cut in the same grouping. I'm going to layer him back on a little bit differently, I think. And I will show you. Okay. So now we're going to layer them back on. Now for this, I would suggest using either dimensionals or a seal. So I'm just going to do mine on with seal because they will hold better against that gold. So, and then this is really just where the artistic, your artsiness comes into play. It really is. In fact, this little one, I'm going to actually stick him on with a dimensional just so you can kind of see a difference. I just want him up there a little bit more. Okay, and then with your linen thread, again, you could do a bow, which would be super cute right there. For video purposes, you guys know I'm going to be doing a knot, but a bow would be super cute, especially with the twine, because it's so nice and fine. And then I'll just grab my glue dots. You can use your multi-purpose glue if you don't have glue dots. Glue dots is another thing, you know, really adhesive is a big thing when you go to create. Having the right adhesive makes all the difference. Just going to slide my little knot in right there. And I'm not even going to trim those long edges. So now you have this one. Now I'm going to show you, you could step it up with those gold metallic pearls in the center. You could also go back and do this technique here. You could put some gilded leafing in the centers of those flowers. You could also add a layer with a coordinating color of cardstock and stamp your sari. And I wrapped and frayed the linen thread there. So, but see how different this background looks than this one? This one I left it more rough and I didn't fill, I just plunked my Versamark ink on there one time. This one I kind of filled it a little bit more. So you can kind of see the differences in how those look and work out. All right, and then our last card, I'm going to show you two different ways to do this card. So we're going to create a frame effect around the edge of our note card. And to do that, I'm going to show you two different ways. If you have our tear tape, you can get a nice clean edge with that. And if you don't, I'm going to show you how to do it using the Versamark ink pad that you got with this kit. So for the tear tape, you're just going to run it in 4 pieces around the edges of your card. If you don't have tear tape, you're going to take your Versamark ink pad and you can line it up. In fact, it might be easiest to just, lay a ruler right along that edge, and we'll see how this goes. And just know you're going to get a very different effect using the Versamark than you will using the tear tape. So just know that up front about it, okay? But I want to show you both methods, and then you can choose what you like or with what materials you have on hand. Now we'll go back in again, and we'll be using that heat and stick powder on the Versamark side. So the tear tape, you don't need the heat and stick powder on it because it's sticky enough. It does not require the heat and stick powder. Okay, get rid of that. Oop, got a little bit on my desk. All right, so now we will heat that. We need to heat the Versamark edges up that have the heat and stick. So let's heat those up. And then we will plunk it all in our gilded leafing container again. Mash it down. Use your sponge. If you see some not sticking in an area, go back in, re-stick it. Oh, I may not have heated my heat and stick up enough. Or I may have a really thin edge on that front edge, I think is the problem. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in and peel that off. Let's see, I've got one corner up here that's giving me some issues, but okay. I'm going to bring that back out for you to see, to start seeing. Oop, I've got a big piece on my finger. All right, so you can see how much crisper this is, and I didn't finish peeling it super straight, but you can see how much crisper that frame line is. And the other thing we can see is down here, when I first started, I did it super narrow, or I didn't get enough heat and stick. I didn't let my heat and stick get hot enough. That's probably what it was. I get antsy with these video things sometimes. You're worrying about creating a card. I'm worrying about creating it on a video. So to fix that, like I said, there's never any things. It can either look artsy and loose like that, not fully filled in, or if you want it filled in, I've just chosen to add a little bit of that multi-purpose glue, and we'll see if that gives us a little bit more of an edge on there. Yeah. But I want you to see how the difference looks from using the Versamark to create an edge versus the tear and tape. So if you have the tear and tape, it gives a nice clean edge. If you're just using Versamark around your edges with the heat and stick, make sure you get enough Versamark and heat and stick powder and then heat it up really well. All right, so it looks more artsy. This looks more refined. Now we're going to take another piece of our paper. You can use whatever adhesive you want. I just used my silk because it was there. And again, it's that smaller edging. So I'm going to lay that on there. Turn this. You guys see me turning things. It's because I do videos one way for a filmed video, and they have to go a different way when I'm doing my Facebook Lives. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple of different things that you could do. So we will use the thank you on this one. Thank you. So if you're really brave, we'll try this. I have not had as good a success using the gilded leafing on the font work, but I'm going to try it again because you just have to sometimes practice. And then we're going to get that heat and stick over it. Make sure we get a really good coating on that. And then we're going to heat it up, and hopefully I get it nice and shiny. So you can see it changing the color on there. Okay, and right after that, dip it into our gold leafing. And here's the problem that I've had. It doesn't always, ooh, I have a little baggie in here. How crazy is that? It doesn't always perfectly stick to where I can see all of those letters. But it's something for you to play with and see, because I think it's not as fine. So if you want your saying in gold, you may prefer to do gold embossing for font, especially where this one is a really thin font. But it is something to play around with and try. And that's my whole thing with you guys is play, get out your gilded leafing and just play and have some fun. Now, the other thing that you could do, clean this up real quick, is you can stamp it in the navy, write directly to your card, or you can stamp it onto a punch like I've done here. And again, I'm just going to go around my card. And this time I'm going to do it even more times. Because I want the texture that the linen thread is going to provide. And I'm going to just do a knot down on this end. Oops. All right, so we've got some textural artsy stuff happening. You can pull those threads and make them, you know, give you dimension. And then here again, I'm going to go ahead and use my dimensionals. I threw them somewhere. Oh, these are the small ones, but that'll work. Again, you can put this tag on flat, but I just want to show you it popped up because most of you guys, I think, have dimensionals. It's one of the core adhesives that I promote that you always have on hand. And then you can just bring it right there. Had I not already stamped, I probably would have moved it up a little bit higher. Oops. So we could put it up above our linen a little bit like that. All right, and then that's just how simple it is. Now I'm going to show you a different one. I'm doing them upside down again. This one I did all with the Versamark, a very rough edged, and I went back in and I inked on top of it, or I inked my edges first with the Petal Pink ink. Then I went over it with my Versamark pad, and then the heat and stick, and then the gold. So it made more things, but I like that because you see where my gold doesn't catch, I have some ink color, so it gives a little bit different dimension. This one, I did do the font in the gold gilded leafing, and it did pretty well. You can see I'm a little light on the H. Added the linen thread, and then here, because of this mosaic piece, I just went in and added the gold metallic pearls as an accent. All right, so I hope that you guys have enjoyed seeing these different methods and ideas for using our new gold gilded leafing, and with your kit, how you can make all of these super easily happen and send them out to your friends. And really, it doesn't matter. Even if you send this little card with very little gold leafing, people are going to think that you are like this extremely cool artist because, wow, look at that. Who makes stuff with gilded leafing? I mean, I don't normally. I would probably never have made anything with gilded leafing had Stampin' Up! Not brought it out to us as an option. But these things are so cool. And when someone gets it, even if you think it's not a perfect work of art, they will. They're going to look at them all. I guarantee you they're going to display these on their mantle, on a shelf, wherever, because these things, this gilded leafing makes things look phenomenal. So don't be afraid of the gilded leafing. Again, if you have any questions at all as you prepare and do your class with your kit, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll see you guys on the next time. Bye-bye.